Good afternoon, this is Sean Golden with Golding & Golding, here to discuss the more common and frequent situation in which taxpayers are getting FBAR and FATCA request notices from their foreign financial institution. So who has to file FBAR and FATCA? It's generally going to be U.S. persons, U.S. citizens, legal permanent residents, individuals subject to U.S. tax because they meet the substantial presence test. Since it's FBAR and FATCA, it would include assets such as stock certificates, stock accounts, other investments, bank accounts, fund accounts, etc., etc. As to overseas crypto, the verdict is still out, but recently FinCEN proposed a notice saying we think it should be reported. So for all intent and purposes, it's probably going to be reportable in the future. So one common concern clients have been having lately is the following. They're not just getting let me take a step back. There used to be something called a FATCA letter where the banks will send out something saying, hey, we're trying to determine whether under the Foreign Account Tax and Compliance Act, whether you're a U.S. person or not. If you are, great, send us a W-9. If you're not, great, send us a W-8 BEN. But unfortunately, the FATCA letter is kind of morphed into a prove it letter. So what will happen is they'll send the foreign financial institution, doesn't have to be a bank. Most people use bank phraseology, but it doesn't have to be one. They may send a notice saying, hey, are you W-8, foreign national, W-9, U.S. person? Oh, and if you're W-9, why don't you send us copies of your FBARs and your FATCA? So not only now do they want to know whether you're supposed to file, but they want to see what you filed, like getting your homework checked. You know, it's like being in second grade again, right? Looking under your desk, realizing your homework's not there because you left it at home. The problem with this is, now your FBAR may have 20 different accounts on it, and this institution is just asking you for one of the accounts. Do you really want to provide that? So that's something you should discuss with a specialist attorney to kind of go through the pros and cons and see, maybe you can redact portions of it, maybe just proving with the BSAE identifier number that you filed it will be sufficient. Not every institution per se is going to want to know that their specific account was on your FBAR more than just knowing that you, customer, filed an FBAR so they can say, yeah, our client represented to us that they filed an FBAR. FBAR or Form 8938, depending. So the reason why this is so important is because it's your money, right? I mean, your money is sitting in this account. Here are certain things that can happen. One, the institution, if there is an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement between the U.S. and that country, they just shoot out your information to the IRS. IRS cross-references your account, sees that you've never filed the 8938, for example. They could either penalize you, send you a CP15. They may send you a soft letter letting you know, hey, you may want to file this. The other things that they can do is they can freeze the account, they can close the account, and sometimes they can forfeit the money. Now, quite honestly, this is all we do. This is what we specialize in, and it's a rare case that someone comes to us and says that the bank forfeited their money. Some countries, they do that, but typically not. What will happen is the customer taxpayer will get a bunch of threatening letters explaining if they don't do something that they're going to lose access to the account and start getting hit with a monthly charge. What do you do if you're out of compliance for prior years? Well, there's various different what's called amnesty or offshore voluntary disclosure programs. There's the VDP, voluntary disclosure program. Ever since they got rid of the offshoot, OVDP, which for offshore, overseas, and foreign assets, taxpayers can use VDP for either domestic or offshore. The only concern is under the new version of the program, it's essentially for people who are willful. Penalties are pretty steep. Under the old OVDP, penalties were less. You could be non-willful and do it because you essentially could avoid an audit. A lot of my clients, a lot of taxpayers in general, a lot of moving parts to their taxes, they don't want to be audited. Under the new version of the program, everyone gets audited. It's part of the program. So it's not necessarily the best program for someone who's non-willful. There's also the streamlined filing compliance procedures, the domestic version of the program for U.S. residents, the foreign version of the program for non-U.S. residents. There's reasonable cause as well. There was the delinquency procedures. They're still around. Delinquent international information return submission procedures, but the IRS has modified this program, so now it just mimics a reasonable cause package submission. We have lots of free information available on our main website, goldinglawyers.com. We have lots of videos available. If you want to, reach out and schedule a reduced fee initial consultation if you think it's appropriate. We try to provide as much information on the website as we can. Again, my name is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.